Hello everyone. Let's talk about the difference between the old, in inverted commas, version of MeerKAT 0.8 and the new version 0.9. If you do look to the website, you will find here on the releases page at the time of the recording a couple of new versions. The newest is, as we see, 0.9.2.beta1, and you have a full version with 0.91, which has been indicated as, well, good enough for production. And the old version is 0.1 is still available over here. So let's have a look at the two different versions and try to establish what has changed visibly and in the background between the two different versions. We have here the two versions side by side, and I'll try to use that picture to show you the main visible differences. The very first thing you are seeing here, left-hand side, you have 0.8.1. Here on the right-hand side, you have the new 0.9 version. The very first visible difference is the toolbar. The ribbon bar over here has 4 different tabs for project, design, modification, and settings, which was always a bit cumbersome because you wanted to design stuff. And whenever you wanted to do that, you had then to change back to the project to run the project on your laser and so on and so forth. In 0.9, you have now 2 toolbars, one at the very top, which provides you all the different things you're seeing here on the left-hand side for project, open save, loading, execution, and so on and so forth, and modification of the existing one and the configuration stuff that you are used to from 0.8. So looking over here, modification and settings or configuration. The second thing you recognize here over here, you have a secondary toolbar with all the things you had previously here on the left-hand side with the different things. That's one thing that you're perceiving. The second thing that you may recognize, there was a visible limit to reduce the size of the toolbar on top of the screen before it became actually unusable. If you reduced it below a certain area, all the different panels collapsed and would no longer really be useful. You could actually click on them, but that was a very inconvenient and actually not very user-friendly way of displaying the stuff. The newer version on the other side is actually helping you to bring that down to a quite significant low size where you still have the images available, which saves you valuable screen estate if you have, for instance, a smaller sized screen. Again, to make them slightly bigger. Okay, that's the very first thing you're recognizing. The second thing is, let's make it bigger again, that we can see the visual differences. On the design element, you still have the very same thing over here. You have selection, job position, job start, drawer, ellipsion, and so on and so forth. Modification had the node edit over here, and this is all right now over here in one thing. So you have the regular selection tool, you have your tools, for instance, to draw an ellipse or a circle, whatever it is, and vector text, text element, a regular shape, and so on and so forth. You have, compared to the previous version, an additional tool. If you click, for instance, here, let's use this one. I think you may have been used to the node editor tool over here. You click on that, you can actually modify the different points of a vector shape after the fact. You may have just recognized whenever I click on that, the toolbar is being replaced by some additional things. For instance, okay, I would like to have an additional point at the end of the tool to extend it. I want to delete a tool, delete a point, whatever it is. And when you're done, you just right click on the scene or you click on this one and you can going back to the regular creation and tool selection mode. There is one additional new tool, although, which is sometimes a useful thing. It's not available, unfortunately, for all the different things, but for certain things, there is something available, which is called the parametric edit of a shape. For instance, if you click here on that circle, and you click on parametric edit, you will see that now 2 points have been highlighted, and you can move them, and you can actually change the thing quite conveniently as well here. Keep a point on the circle being fixed and just change the center point and so on and so forth. This is true for a couple of other things. We'll come to that in a separate video. Okay, so that's for the visual elements of it. We're going to speak about the new tools and new functionalities in a more detailed fashion, but let's just quickly speak about the most obvious visual differences between 0.9 and 0.8. The second thing over here is that you are recognizing, okay, let me just try to do one thing. Just clicking here, this one, dragging it into a cut operation, or I could change that as well, blah, blah, blah. You have recognized here you have the two. One is right now considered to be a cut. One is considered to be an engrave operation if we want to. Let's just remove the two, one of the two, just to simplify stuff. I'll do the very same over here so we can see the difference. Have an ellipse over there and have a circle over here. Let that make that a cut and an engrave operation. Looking here to the tree, first of all, you may have seen that all those things have swap position. 0.8 by definition has all the things on the left-hand side. 0.9 has it on the right-hand side. Actually, you can change that if you like. You can drag the things across to the other side, and then things will recognize much more the look and feel that you had on your previous one. Let me just try to reset that, reset panes to what we would normally see by definition. Still, you do have the very same picture over here. You have the information about the operations, you have the elements contained, nothing very different. There are a couple of fine things though. If you look very closely, you will see here on the left-hand side a new thing, a new tab, which is called burn operation. And that is indicating the list of active operations that are currently being used. This is the list of all predefined operations that you may use, and that is the list of the real used. And you can actually disable the stuff over here just by clicking active. And if you have something deactivated, you can even hide it from the screen to simplify your activity to work on that. That was available in 0.82, but it was a bit hidden as a feature. You can quickly change the power and the speed parameters too, and so forth. Actually, this thing is very much resembling the functionality that may have been hidden over here in the status bar, where you could as well assign individual operations to those elements. I will speak about the status bar and the changes over here in a separate video. Let's just, for the time being, say you had in 0.8 a list of the operations that were defined and were exactly the stuff that you were having over here, and you could as well quickly change the color of the element. That is something which is as well available over here. You just have to switch over here between the different elements that you have. If you never have played around with that feature, I strongly encourage you to give it a try. There is a lot of stuff hidden over here that sometimes evades being recognized by the users. Okay. Once again, I'll speak about those what we call default operations in a separate video. Anyway, so this is a convenient way of dealing with that. So let me just quickly show that. If, for instance, I assign a ellipse here to the engrave operation, then the burn operation will have that as being used here too. By the way, there is a slight behavioral change too. Let me just quickly eliminate that. Previously you were forced to drag the element onto the operation. By the way, this is now working too. You can drag the operation on an element and it will be assigned to them. Slight behavioral improvement over here. So that's the first, that's the second thing that you will see. Additional information that are being used over here. Then there are a couple of changes in the background, I think, which I found a rather convenient addition to the arsenal of tools. Looking here to the device, not a lot of differences, but oh, there is a difference. Things have become a bit better visible. Okay, so black text on a red background may not have always been the brightest, or in this way darkest idea, to be honest. So it was a bit unreadable. This has now changed to become more readable, a small but I think in relevant detail, and which is also a nice addition. If you click here on the button to the right hand side of the device, that is not present over here, the corresponding configuration window for appearing over there, configuration window for the laser is popping up, making it quite simple to access the data and the configuration. Before it was a bit inconvenient. You had to actually go to settings, go to devices, and then change the configuration over here. Even double clicking. Yeah, not even working over here. So I can't even remember how to get that, to be honest. Anyway, yeah, I think it was devices, clip. Good question. How could you open the configuration for the stuff? Interesting. Anyway, so this is bear with me that I can't remember all the functionalities right now. This is now a very convenient new feature that you have. Okay, so I think these are the most visible changes. Once again, this will become the subject of a different video where we're speaking about in more detail. Yeah, by the way, speaking about configuration here of the toolbar, if you play around with the settings, with the preferences, you may even change the behavior in swapping some of the panels, adding additional panels to it out of the existing arsenal. I'm not going to discuss this. I think this videos may already be too long, but hopefully this will encourage you to play around with it a bit. Okay, so much for the most visible differences from a cosmetical perspective. There are quite a lot of changes under the hood of 0.9 versus 0.8. I'm not going to dwell too much into the different details right now, but there are two relevant changes to which I would like to quickly note. Number one, you may not perceive that, but a couple of operations should have become much faster and more convenient to use. And one of the second, from a perspective which has been added recently to tool of arsenals. Number one, if you do have a cut operation that has already been present in 0.8, but those not as fully outlined, you have the chance right now to speak about the curve compensation feature here. A curve compensation is your laser beam is not having a zero width. It has a certain physical width, 0. whatever millimeter, whatever it is, depending on your model. So whenever you're cutting something out, it won't have exactly the dimensions of the shape that you want to cut out. So in this context, that might help. It may compensate it for an inner burn or an outer burn, that you will end up with a cutout shape with exactly the required dimensions, which is useful, for instance, for finger joints, for inlays, and other stuff like that. Will become also subject of a separate video in the near future. That's one thing. And the second thing is there is for those of you who are using MeerKAT not as a standalone product, but want to use it sometimes to interact with third-party softwares like Lightburn, there is a new feature over here. You may remember it. MeerKAT is the only way actually to make your K40 laser being recognized by Lightburn by claiming it to be a DSP reader laser. And that was the famous reader control, that feature that you could actually click. Yeah, okay, I need to provide access to it because I've just downloaded the version over here, and then Lightburn will recognize that as a reader laser if you're looking for it. But there is a second option over here. You can actually let MeerKAT claim that your K40 laser is a network attached Gerbil or diode laser, and that will be recognized by Lightburn too. So much for the visible, or let's say most prominent feature changes. There are quite a few more that will become subject of individual videos. Thank you for watching.